So now let us go to our next topic, basic functions to remember. So in this chapter, you have to remember a lot of basic functions. And using these basic functions, as we go on, more and more complicated functions will be constructed. But any complicated functions can be broken down into some basic functions which we are going to learn now. So whatever are the functions that we are going to learn now, you need to follow very carefully. So the first function that we are going to study is constant function. So constant function is a very simple function. It is defined as f of x is equal to constant. So this is some constant a. That means if you take the machine interpretation, so whatever x goes inside this machine, always a fixed number a comes out. This machine does not do anything. So whatever number goes in, irrespective of what goes in, you always get the constant a as the answer. So what is the domain of this function? So the domain of this function is all real numbers. It can take any real number inside. What is the range of this? The range is the set A. The range is a singleton set. So whatever number goes in, only A comes out. So this A can be any number. For example, if f of x is equal to 5, the range of this function is 5 and the domain of this function is real numbers. This is not a very difficult function to understand. And once you understand the machine interpretation, domain and range, you need to understand the graph of this function. So how does the graph of this function look like? So whatever be the value of x, the value of y is always the same number. That means you get a graph which is a straight line parallel to x-axis at a distance of a from the x-axis. If a is positive, you get the graph above x-axis. If a is negative, you get a graph below x-axis. So for example, f of x is equal to 5. So this can be the graph of f of x is equal to 5, or simply y is equal to 5. So for whatever the value of x is, y is always equal to 5. So you get a horizontal line at a distance of 5 units. So this distance will be equal to 5 units. This distance will be equal to 5 units. So if f of x is equal to minus 5, that is a function, the graph will be 5 units below x-axis. Right? This is y is equal to minus 5. This is y is equal to plus 5. So for every function, the topics that you need to remember is what is the machine interpretation of that, what is the domain, what is the range, you need to remember this, how does the graph look like, and if there are any special properties. If there are any special properties, I will mention them. So you need to remember those special properties. For this constant function, this is a very simple function. There are no special properties for this. Now let us go to our next function. So the next function that you need to remember is signum function. Signum function stands for sign of number function. Sign and number. That's why this is called signum function. So we don't call it signum function because sign is another trigonometric ratio which you know, that name has already been taken. So we pronounce it as signum function. So what is the definition of signum function? What does signum function do? So signum function is denoted by sgn of x. So sgn of x, what it does is, this is nothing but plus 1 if x is greater than 0, 0 if x is equal to 0, minus 1 if x is less than 0. This is the definition of signum function. That is, if you take the machine interpretation of this function, if a positive number goes inside this machine, if x is greater than 0, if a positive number goes inside this machine, you get 1 as the answer. If 0 goes inside this machine, you get 0 as the answer. If a negative number goes in, whatever be the negative number, if the negative number goes inside this machine, you get minus 1 as the answer. So always whatever number goes in, you'll always get either 0 or 1 or minus 1 as the answer. So if a positive number goes in, 1 is the answer. 0 goes in, 0 is the answer. Minus numbers, negative numbers goes in, minus 1 is the answer. So this function is called signum function and it is denoted by SGN of x. From now on, whenever you see SGN of x, it means signum of x. Right? So what is the domain of this function? The domain of this function is all real numbers because whatever real number goes in, the machine is working. And what is the range of this signum function? The range is the set -1, 0 or +1. Because these are the only three numbers which comes out of this machine. So the output will be either 0, 1 or -1 and the range is this. How does the graph of this look like? So as you can see, whatever may be the positive x, any positive number, x is any positive number, you always get 1 as the answer. You always get 1 as the answer. If you join all those points, you get this straight line here. But exactly at x is equal to 0, you get 0 as the answer. So this line goes closer and closer and closer to this y-axis, but it does not touch y-axis because exactly at x is equal to 0, 0 is the answer. So we represent this by a hollow dot. Hollow dot means that this line goes closer and closer and closer to y, infinitesimally closer to y, but it does not touch y. And this graph y is equal to 1 works for all positive real numbers. And at exactly 0, the value of y is equal to 0. And when x is negative, for all negative numbers, the value of y is -1. So for all negative x's, value of y is -1. So this also does not work at x is equal to 0 except at x is equal to 0. At all other real numbers, all other negative real numbers, the value of the function is -1. So the graph looks like this. 1 on the positive side, -1 on the negative side with the hollow dots here. The solid dot at x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. The domain is R, the range is R, the range is set -1, 0, 1. The definition is -1 if x is negative, 0 if x is equal to 0, 1 if x is equal to positive. So these are the things that you need to remember. So one of the special property that you need to remember about signum function is signum of -x will be equal to minus of SGN of x. So if a number x, that is if a number 2 has a particular functional value, the number -2 will have the exact opposite functional value. So signum of -x will be equal to minus signum of x. You need to remember this. Signum of x is always equal to 1 if x is greater than 0. For any positive numbers, signum value will always be equal to 1, which is nothing but the definition. For example, so how do we write this? What is SGN of -2.3? SGN of -2.3, don't need to see what this number is, you just need to see whether this is positive or negative. This is a negative number and the value, the answer is -1. What is signum of 243.56? Nothing but +1. Because it is a positive number, the value of signum is +1. So I hope you have understood the function signum x. It's a very simple function. So now let us move forward.